Well, hey, Nicole Donnelly, man, happy Monday to you. How are you today?
Happy Monday. I'm doing good. It's a beautiful spring day. I spent my weekend planting flowers, so I'm just like up to my ears in flowers everywhere. It's great. Happy Monday. How are
What
you, Kurt?
what a
How's,
great
how's
problem.
yeah,
What a
yeah.
great problem to have there. Like tons of flowers. So now, just in case anybody didn't notice, we are missing somebody on stage today. Our dear
Yes.
friend Damon Pistulka is out traveling with his wonderful, amazing wife. Damon, if you're out there, boy, we love you, brother. We miss you. But man, we've got a powerhouse on stage here with Nicole taking Damon's place. So Nicole, we have a super incredibly exciting conversation. Are you ready? Are you sitting down? You're standing, aren't you? Do you
I'm
want to?
always,
Do you
I'm
want to
always
hang on? Should you hang on to your computer for this one?
holding on,
You
holding on
holding
to
on?
this one.
Okay, you ready? So we're gonna introduce my dear friend Kevin Dickey. Kevin, happy Monday. How are you, my friend?
Very good, Kurt. Thank you so much for inviting me to talk with you today.
Absolutely. This is such an honor, such a privilege. Kevin comes from the great state of Ohio and the Buckeye State. And so Kevin here, he's the president of CurrentSAFE. And boy, for a manufacturer out there, this is a great, juicy, powerful conversation that we're going to dig into today. This is a topic that we haven't covered before, Nicole. So I'm just really excited here. But before we dig into that, I'm going to get to know Kevin a little bit. So, Kevin, my first question that I want to kick things off on this wonderful, beautiful spring Monday afternoon in our corner of the world. When you were a little boy growing up in the great state of Ohio, the Buckeye State, when you were a little boy growing up, Kevin Dickey, who was your hero growing up? Who was your hero as a little boy growing up?
Well, I think it's fairly obvious. My father,
Okay.
he was a entrepreneur and never graduated high school and developed a multi-million-dollar electrical contracting business, and very good Christian man, very wonderful philanthropist. And yes, he's 94 today, and we still get a chance to see him every day. He still comes in the office every day at 94.
He comes in the office every day.
Every day keeps him going.
That is amazing.
And is it Joe? Do I have that correct?
Yes, Joe.
Joe, that's what. Okay, so hey, all right. First off, big shout out to our dear friend Joe. So Joe, if you catch this on replay, we are sending our respects, our admiration to you, Joe, for just being a fearless, relentless entrepreneur. What an inspiration he is. What a great role model for you, Kevin. And so let's dig into that a little bit further. So Dad started an electric. Was he the founder?
He is. He was the founder. He started in 1957.
Wow.
Right out of, in the basement of our home, and bought a service truck and bought the tools and equipment. He was an electrician, and he thought, well, I think I can try this on my own. And by golly, he sure did it. He did a great job.
That's
Wow.
incredible.
Yes.
1957, 94 years old, still shows up at the office every day. So let's stick on that for a minute, Nicole, since you're fourth generation entrepreneur. I come from a family of entrepreneurs, and just, this is just such a great, juicy story. So Kevin, just, I can't even do the math. Well, that's a lot of years right there, right? 60 some years.
Yes.
So how many, talk a little bit about, like Dad's philosophy. Dad, what do you credit from, being kind of, involved as son? You were part of the business. We're going to dig into that. But what do you credit Dad's success, his longevity?
Well, he doesn't dwell on the negative. I will say that he's very positive. We could have the rain coming down, the roof's leaking, the gas line broke, and he'd be going, well, we're going to get those fixed and take off and make a lot more and out of this life than just stand around and worry. And he had a few philosophies that I believed in. One was, when you wake up in the morning, don't lay there and worry. Roll out of bed, brush your teeth, wash your face, and get moving. And I believe that is probably one of the number one things that I taken from him was, don't lay there. If you wake up, just get up and get moving and get on with your day, and things will happen.
Oh.
Nicole, who's that remind you of? Like, how about Nicole's dad? His tagline was just make it happen. So guys, happy Monday. If you're just joining us, hey, we got Diane Byer. Diane, happy Monday to you. You're out there, drop us a note in the comments. Let us know that you're out there. You definitely absolutely want to connect with Kevin Dickey on LinkedIn. Check out CurrentSAFE. So let's keep this rolling. So Kevin, let's hear about your story. So Dad Joe, just relentless entrepreneur, multi-million-dollar business, Christian man, just a wonderful role model for you, kind of paved the path. Did you get involved in a family business as a young man? What did that look like?
Well, Kurt, we started off as when we were old enough to put material away. We were driving truck at 16 years old and being told to go as fast as we could to save money to get the material.
A little scrappy, right there, Nicole?
Totally. Yeah.
Right. So we were, I was in the business. I was very involved in the business till I was around 45. I decided I wanted to be an entrepreneur of my own, and found a niche within our electrical contracting world that I believed could be very beneficial to our customers, that other electrical contractors never provided. And so we put together a business, and I went to my family and said, I've got an idea. And I went through it. I wasn't much of a marketing guy, Kurt. So my name was going to be Dickey's Home Electrical Preventative Maintenance Program.
And well, you must be a good businessman because you change it to something really, and I'll tell you what a perfect name that you came up with. And so you have we're going to dig into the story on how, Nicole, every entrepreneur has a great story, whether it's an aha moment, I'm trying to solve my own problem. And Kevin, if I'm not mistaken, I think you have a really powerful experience that you're going to share. But before we hit that story of 2005, when your business CurrentSAFE kind of came to fruition, let's talk about, okay, family, you've got wife, kids, you've got obligations, and you have this wonderful business, very safe, I'm saying, I guess pun intended a little bit there, right? I'm playing it safe, but you have a great business that, with Dad Joe, that you could have kind of just kept things going. I'd like you to talk a little bit before we get into your aha moment and that entrepreneurial leap. What were some takeaways in your 20s and 30s of as entrepreneurship, kind of watching Dad kind of forming your own model and, your own path for entrepreneurship? What did that look like in your stages at the electrical business?
Well, fortunately, I was able to see every aspect of the electrical contracting business growing up. I mean, I started out as floor sweeper, truck driver, purchasing agent, material handler, went into the trade, then became a project manager, ran some large jobs, estimator for years. And I watched, so I was actually taught by my father. I had the best teacher in the world to teach me. And yes, fathers and sons, they might have been a little loud once in a while to learn my lessons. But he stuck with us. And when I saw the business and I saw what it actually took to run the business and what it took every day of your life to get up and go hard, it intrigued me. It was part of who I am, apparently. And I wanted to take a shot at following in his footsteps and creating something and developing it into a successful business.
Awesome. Okay. That is so good. So, and I'm sure there's tons of stories to unpack in that time frame. So let's lead up to 2005. Can you share, was there an event, was there an occurrence that something happened that just kind of triggered and you're like, hey, I'm going to get this going?
Kurt, it was really amazing. So I had built this whole presentation book, and of course, with some of the experience I had a pro forma and everything ready to present. Again, I went to my family business and I sat with them and they're like, well, nobody's ever really done this. This could be dangerous. This could be scary. Right. You don't know if it's going to work. We don't know. And we would like to not do it. So, I think my wife at the time, she was probably fairly happy because we were safe and secure, like you said. Yeah. I call it under the petticoat for some of the older people.
Oh, I love that.
I could sneak out and look, and I was safe.
Yeah.
But one night, and it was a residential electrical testing business is what I wanted to start with. And was it 2 nights later, in the middle of the night, I had 5 kids under the age of 18. And believe it or not, I had an electrical fire in my own home. Oh, and was quite scary. It was wow. It was a wow moment. And as we were putting a fire out, calling the fire department and everything, we got everything put out. Maybe it was an hour or 2 later. And my wife said to me, honey, do you think that's a sign that we should go into that business? And the next day I went and bought a van, and I went and told them I'm going to try it on my own. And fortunately, we've been very successful since that moment.
My gosh. All right, let's just savor that for a minute, Nicole. Let that sink in. What are the odds of you go to your family on whatever day of the week it was, and 2 days later? And so, Kevin, I don't know how deep you want to go. Can you share what did you find the cause, or what did your family go through? Were you displaced from your home for a while? What was that experience like from a personal standpoint, going through a house fire?
It was actually, so I bought an older farmhouse, and I had brought in electricians, and we rewired the whole basement, first and second floor. The third floor had been remodeled about 8 years previous, so we didn't touch it.
Oh, no.
Oh, wouldn't you know, it was the electric that was in the home that wasn't tested. And that went right along with what my concept was. What you don't see can hurt you. And if you don't check everything, that one piece can really devastate you and your family, and put you out. We were able to stay in the house that night. It was on the third floor, and we were all okay in that. But everyone was up and outside within minutes at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Oh,
so, and that's when it happened, 3 o'clock in the morning to us.
Oh my God.
Well, thank God. First off, God bless you that everybody was safe. Number one. Number two, home was safe, and it was, a minor, I would say minor. It wasn't minor at 3 in the morning, but, it could have been catastrophic. Now, Kevin, now that it's been like 18 years later, I'm going to share some, boy, dude, you really take things to an extreme to get your business started, didn't you?
Yes, I did. I did. Kurt, can I say that you really don't want to call the fire department if you're the only electrical contractor in town and you have.
That's right. So it just worked for the right. Everybody out there, if you're, you're thinking, man, I'd like to get my entrepreneurial journey going. Kevin took it to a little bit of an extreme. Maybe you can find a different path, right, Nicole, of getting things started. But when you shared that story with me, I just think that is just such, is that a God moment, an aha moment of just and as your wife said to you, honey, I think this is a little bit of an obvious sign here that somebody's nudging you. So the next day you go out and get a van. What was that transition like? And then I just want to hear about the transition, talking about that leap of faith, 5 kids under 18, newer home. And then I'm going to dig into what is CurrentSAFE? But what was that transition like in those early days of CurrentSAFE for you?
Well, first of all, it's always exciting when you're starting a new business, right? You're going to try something, you're going to risk it. It's exciting, but there's a lot of butterflies in your stomach, and you're scared as can be. Everything you do is so worrisome. Am I doing the right thing? Did I make this? Am I wasting a lot of my time on something I shouldn't be? Should I be, right? So those were the obvious feelings and emotions, to just the excitement to try it on your own. But an interesting story was my father thought that I was going out to be a competitor, so he wouldn't speak to me for about 4 months. If I could finish, I went to a trade show, a home show, just your basic home and garden shows. You've all been to them, right? With doors and windows and And I put up a booth, and I had an infrared camera, and the people were coming around, and I had a big TV screen. And I looked down the aisle, and my father was sitting with a plumber friend of ours, and he came by after the crowd left and said, "Son, don't give up. You have something great here." And the transition was both family, through our business, and for my personal family, the excitement and the risk involved.
Man, I tell you, that is such a powerful moment. And hey, we've got some friends here. Karen stopping by. So Karen, happy Monday to you. Again, Diane's here. We've got Bonnie here, Nicole.
Bonnie!
So Bonnie's popping in, and she's sharing, hey, what a crazy aha moment. So again, guys, drop us a note. Let us know that you're out there. You definitely do yourself a favor. Connect with Kevin Dickey here on LinkedIn. So Kevin, let's take a deep dive. CurrentSAFE. So the new name, the what was the previous name? Dickey's that didn't stick.
So I did hire a marketing friend of ours, and if I could, when I was working with a friend of mine getting all of my truck ready, and I hadn't had the name yet. And I told my friend, there's a guy coming over with the name of a company please don't react. I don't want him to think it's good or bad. We're going to just be, playing. And when we sat down at the table with him, he talked to me about it and flipped it over and he said, CurrentSAFE, home electrical hazard. And I looked at him and went, I love it. My friend said, Kevin, you just said not to do that. But that's how I got my name.
Wow.
Really.
It's like a series of fortunate events right there. All of it, everything just seemed to just all fall into place. It's pretty
Thank you.
amazing.
I believe we're blessed. I mean, blessed. We try to live right, and good things happen if you do good things.
Well,
good things happen if you do good things. Such a true statement. Oh, I love that. Very cool.
So let's dig into, Kevin, CurrentSAFE. So for folks out there, and again, like our jam, we're speaking to manufacturers. We have a lot of marketers that we talk to. So, as you just shared, hey, it can hit your home. Now you have a great business model where you're reaching electrical dealers. So let's take a deep dive in what is CurrentSAFE, preventative, predictive, like all this juicy stuff that you provide, how you make the world a better place. Let's go there. I want to hear it all.
Great. Well, residentially, we call it electrical hazard detection. So we're going into homes and we're detecting electrical hazards. And we take photos and we use specialized testing equipment for homes. But that grew over the years. And a few years ago, maybe 5-6 years ago, we decided to create a commercial and industrial version of this. And I think that's probably more where we're at today to talk about. What we found were there are some compliancy issues that people have to follow, manufacturers have to follow through the electrical industry. So we've developed a business in a box. We provide to an electrical contractor all the marketing pieces, your pricing systems, your software, everything you need to get training involved, all the training involved. If you're an electrical contractor, we would provide you with the business in a box, and then we would train you so you can go out and start this very niche, unique service and offer it to your customers where your competitors cannot offer it to the customers. They cannot do it, or they're not proficient at it. So we have a network of around 16 total dealerships across the United States right now. And we're growing every day. We were fortunate enough to just we're opening one next week in Florida.
Congratulations.
So our object is to make sure that all the electrical contractors are providing the best top-notch preventative, predictive maintenance to keep people from failing, electrical fires, reduce downtime, and all of the things that go with having your power go out on you unexpectedly.
So go ahead, Nicole.
I was going to say that's so huge, especially in manufacturing facilities where every minute of downtime impacts the bottom line. It's just so critical that they can keep their operations running and eliminate that downtime as much as possible. So that's cool. It's awesome.
Yeah, I want to unpack a couple things there, Kevin. So from an entrepreneurial standpoint, okay, when you first started that first trade show and Dad came up to you and said, "Hey man, keep it going, Kevin, proud of you. This is awesome." What you've done, with your network of 16 dealers, huge congratulations on the new one in Florida. When did scalability come into play? When did you go from, you're in Northeast Ohio, when did you go from hey, I'm really going to kind of hit the ball at the park from my local backyard? When did you start thinking bigger, and when did you start scaling the business? What did that look like?
Sure. Interesting enough, I didn't know what I was going to get into, right? It was a total risk, roll the dice. I say, I keep bringing more dice out of my drawer and rolling them to see if I try something else to work. But I'll tell you when I knew was when I went on a morning show, a TV morning show on the local station.
Yeah.
We were at a home and we had 3 segments, 10-minute segments. And on the second segment, I forgot to take my phone out of my pocket and my phone started ringing while I was in the segment. And what I found were people are interested in being safe. You primarily are worried about fire hazards, shock hazards, and having clean, dependable power. With those 3 things is what I've built my business on. I want to make sure that everyone is safe from a risk of fire. Everyone is safe from any shock hazards that they don't know about. And this is in commercial, industrial, residential, everywhere.
All of it.
And then in the industrial world and in the manufacturing world, clean, dependable power is very important with some of the electronics we have today in our manufacturing equipment. And so if we don't assure clean power, we can have glitches in our system. We're chasing down ghosts that we think it's something else, but it could just be a loose connection in one of your pieces of equipment or something failing that you were unaware of.
Awesome. Okay. So as you started growing and kind of getting beyond that Northeast Ohio, how did it, like, as far as like recruiting new dealers, like you're in, my recollection, you're in Houston, I believe you're in Maryland, you've got all sorts of folks in Ohio, Indiana, Midwest, I think Kansas. So you're covering a bunch of different states. How did you kind of start building that network?
Well, once I saw the success going with myself in my own business,
yeah,
I worked with another friend of ours who had a company in a different field that had done similar.
Mm-hmm.
So I did some research. I actually looked into using a franchise company to help me prepare the documents. But as far as selling them and reaching out and finding them, I have a great staff that manages my business. I think you know Sharon, who's the vice president, basically runs our company for us, is what I like to, I say. While I'm out chasing new dealers, she's making sure everything's getting done.
Right.
So we go out, we meet with contractors, and we, see who would fit really well with our service. There are some things you'd need to have within your business and some business acumen to be able to do this properly. Yeah. So we kind of go out, talk to contractors, see what's a good fit. If they are, we're able to sign them up, get them trained, and now they own that market. There's a market where it's exclusive for them, and they can just start going out and start educating all the manufacturers, the healthcare facilities, the higher education, everyone who would worry about an electrical fire, failure, or downtime. And we offer maintenance agreements that we put on with the company. And we come in and we physically do them. This isn't a maintenance agreement that's paper only, like pay us this much and sign that paper and we'll maintain it. This is a physical test of your equipment to make sure you don't go down.
Right. I love this. So Kevin, let's go here. Electrical safety 101. Okay. Like I won't speak for Nicole, but like I'm a third grader, right? As a matter of fact, Nicole, I'm insulting the third grader because they're much smarter than I am. But Kevin, let's take a little deep dive into electrical safety 101. Let's speak for our commercial folks. I know you work with, like, you guys target data centers, healthcare. Today we're reaching out to manufacturers, but let's go into that electrical safety 101 if you could.
Sure. And I will say that okay. So electrical safety, when it comes to industrial and commercial facilities, they have to follow some specific guidelines that many aren't totally aware of. They may know of some of the things that they need to follow to be in compliance. But with the ever-changing regulations, that's one of our finer points where we educate ourselves and keep our clients and all of our dealers and our customers up on the latest codes. Recently, there was a change in the NFPA 70E. And this is a National Fire Protection Association.
Yep.
Writes this. And actually, most people know that National Fire Protection Association is the lead writer in the electrical code that we have to follow.
Okay.
Now, what's funny is, Kurt, is as an electrical contractor, I don't have to follow this book necessarily. But your manufacturers all have to follow this book.
Oh, no kidding.
Yes.
Wow.
That's okay. Let's, you know what? I think that's worth repeating.
Sure.
Right? Did you, Nicole, did you hear that correctly? Let's say that one more time.
So this is the national standard on how to keep your facility safe electrically. And this is used by OSHA if they come into your facility to refer to fine you against. So OSHA is not all a bunch of electricians, so they lean on NFPA to write their standards to follow.
Yeah.
Now, again, as an electrical contractor, we follow the OSHA standards 1926.
Okay.
Don't know if that means anything to anyone,
Right.
But as a manufacturer, you know you should be following 1910, OSHA 1910.
Okay.
So what we did as a contractor said, why don't we work for all these manufacturers and they're our friends and we want to continue to work with them. Why wouldn't we research what they needed to do and make sure they at least were educated on what they should do? And I found out there are 6 key things that they need to do that comes from this book.
No kidding.
And so we go out and we help our customers understand what they are. Some of them are easy, some of them are hard, some of them are very inexpensive, and a couple of them are a little expensive. So to be in compliance. So we go out, put a plan together, make sure we could put maybe a 2 or 3 year plan together so they'll be in compliance, fit it within their budgets. And then the real benefit is not only are they in compliance, but especially in manufacturing, there's you don't have to worry about downtime from an electrical failure.
Right.
We all know what it could cost a manufacturer per hour to be down. Right. And so we've learned how to give them the 6 keys to compliancy is what we call it.
Right.
That's so awesome. It's great marketing. And it seems like you've really been able to combine this amazing product with training, really. Like you're really teaching, helping, making sure that they understand the risks and everything rather than just, giving them a product. You're helping them through and keeping them up to date on everything they need to be thinking about, which is so awesome. I'm sure your customers and your partners love you for all that. You're taking good care of them.
Well, one thing is we all should be working together in this world. And I do believe that the customers appreciate that we are keeping them out of trouble. Yeah. And for that, we get long-term relationships and we help each other out whenever needed. So yes, we're providing something that most companies would never, their electrical contractor would not probably know what these 6 keys are, or because as I'm an electrical contractor, we used to focus on ourselves, just ourselves. Yeah. And we took the business model to not just focus on ourselves, but let's give a little extra to our customers. They deserve it.
Right. That's great marketing. I love it. You're making me happy.
Educating and I think my work, working with you, Kevin, and what you've educated me on, and I've had the honor and privilege of meeting some of your dealers, is we talk about how to be proactive instead of reactive, because when it's 3 a.m, you're very reactive, right? Correct. And you're in a crisis. For a manufacturer, my machine is down, goodness gracious, orders need to get out the door. What do I do? But you've taught me proactive, preventative, and not only preventative, predictive.
Correct.
I want to come back to the 6 keys. I want to come back to those in 1 minute, but could you hit how, like, being proactive, being preventative, and that the predictive part, right? I say that right? Proactive, preventative, and predictive. That's what I wanted to say.
Correct. Well, most importantly is they put a plan together. So you need to put a plan together and devise the amount of times we need to do it. Is it once a year? Would it be twice a year? Would it be more? And it has a lot to do with the manufacturer or whoever is we're talking with. Mm-hmm. We want to put a plan together so that we're opening their equipment and we're testing it. And this is the tricky part. If there's no electricity flowing, it's very difficult to find an electrical problem that's happening. Right. So what our business entails is actually opening up the equipment and testing the inside of the equipment while they're under load. Just like in a hospital, how do you know if the surgery is going to go down unless they're basically running all the surgery equipment and you've got what's really happening on their electrical system? Oh, wow. So same in manufacturing, much of it has to be done live. So we've heard in the past where people will shut their equipment off and just tighten everything up. We have found that does not work. It's a small Band-Aid trying to put on. So our people are trained to come into your facilities and go through your electrical equipment. We use infrared thermographic imaging. We have ultrasonic testing equipment that can hear arcing before you and I can hear it, before our ears, kind of like the dog whistle. Electrical arcing sets off ultrasonic sounds. So we are really proud that we try to catch a problem before it even gets close to becoming an issue. And so that's predictive, preventative, and proactive ways of performing maintenance on your equipment.
Man, man, Nicole, I'm like thinking of like the canary in the coal mine, right? It's like just getting that little warning. And that's a great point. And it's so logical. And I hate to say, like, you're sounding like Captain Obvious, but the thing is, like, it's, you know, how many people are going to be like, hey, let's test this or do this, but everything's off, you know, and boy, if you're on the operating table, you'd really like them to, you know, have them test this when everything's on, not when everything's off. That's a really powerful example right there, right?
Yes. You know, football stadiums. We were in one recently while the game was on, and the difference between when there was no game to the game, we were able to identify many items that were going to put them out eventually. They were going to have an outage when they were running full system.
Oh.
And, so you have to look at it like certain companies have very critical areas. Many of your manufacturers use air. They have air compressors, run pneumatics and different things.
Yeah.
And when you really comes down to it, what's critical, that's a pretty critical piece of equipment. So we want to make sure that that doesn't fail. Where the lunchroom lighting might not be that critical, right? But in the field. So we talk with our customers to identify where is their most critical need and to assure that we've covered them from having a failure in down to their critical equipment.
That's fantastic. So all right, Kevin, let's come back to the 6 points if we could. Can you give us, I don't know if you want to run through, you know, take it as deep as you want to, but let's kind of, again, we're kind of in that electrical safety 101. Let's hit on those points that you want to cover here today.
Sure. So what the first one really is that all of the manufacturers, all the businesses we work with have a certain number of people or a certain employee that needs to have this 70E safety training. It's a specific course. There's all kinds of training out there from OSHANet, but this 70E is a specific training course, and they need a badge and a certification that they understand it in their facility. Mm-hmm. So we actually have a train the trainer program where our dealers are certified to now train their customers, which saves so much hassle. We're able to come into their facility, have the trainings there where we can actually talk to them directly about the safety within their building instead of just general things. So we'll go out and we'll provide safety training for large companies to small companies. And we can either do it at our facilities or we do it at their facility for them. So everyone has to have somebody in their organization, generally in the maintenance or even equipment operators, anyone who turns on power and turns it off, even a breaker on a control panel. So that's one. And again, that's not hard. That's a 4-hour class, but we can provide that for you and give you all the certifications you need. One other one would be to have a safety plan. Well, every company today has a safety plan. Most companies have a safety director. They've developed a safety plan. The key we're looking for is, did the safety plan, is it very old? And does it meet these requirements? Mm-hmm. So again, it could be just a change in a few paragraphs within your safety plan, and now you're safe if something happened.
So Kevin, I have to interject. The question is your safety plan current?
That's
sorry, I couldn't help myself. All right, so Nicole,
waka.
I couldn't.
You do well around my house, Kurt, because we have a lot of those. So.
All right, so we need to have the current plan at CurrentSAFE has got to be current. So just a lot of current going on there. All right, so number one, internal champion. Number two, that safety plan, boy, it needs to be up to date, needs to be current. How about number three?
Number three would be that the employees in there that are ever working on any electrical devices, some people have a maintenance guy or someone who knows what they're doing or gal, and they need to have the proper personal protective equipment in their facility. Mm-hmm. So They have to have their different types of hot gloves and certain insulated tools and things. So we'll go through with our customers and see what they have in their maintenance departments, and then assure them of what they need to have on in their workshop for safety, their lockout tagouts, all of their safety equipment. So that's another thing that every company should have a box or an area where they have all of their electrical safety equipment. And so we help them identify what their facility needs, because not every facility has the same voltages or things flowing through them. So we identify what they need, and we'll make sure that they have everything they need there, and they can't get in trouble for not having it there.
I love that, Nicole. We talk with a lot of manufacturers on providing that checklist, if you will. And that sounds like what you're providing, Kevin, is, and again, it's kind of that 101. And for a manufacturer, it's just so tough. We're like, 1 minute they're dealing with HR issues, and next minute they're trying to be their own finance manager or CFO. Next minute they're trying to do a little bit of marketing, a little bit of sales, and then trying to, safety. So they're flipping on different hats all day, every day. And what I love, what I'm hearing, you have their back. It's like that real insurance policy of protecting their greatest asset. And again, not just for manufacturers, you provide this for residential. We've talked data centers, healthcare, whatever type of a commercial facility, could be retail, that, you're helping folks stay in business and prevent these real catastrophic, dangerous, even a minor thing can turn into something pretty devastating, right?
Kurt, today we find that when we do have a customer who calls us who maybe didn't have a program, and they call us, they had an emergency failure. We have found that today trying to get parts could take months.
Oh yeah.
And let's say you have a transformer feeding a piece of equipment. Do you know if that's a transformer that's very common, or will it be one that could take you honestly 12 months to get today with our lead times in our industries today? Mm-hmm. So we're saying, please do yourself a favor and make sure we maintain this. Extend the life of your equipment is what we're trying to do. Electrical equipment is only, believe it or not, rated for 35 years of use if it has not been maintained. So we know buildings at 50, 80, 100 years old.
Sure. Yeah.
The failure rate of those are almost 80 to 90% is what they say the failure rate will happen unless they're maintained. So we can keep extending the life of your equipment. And we always say, we like to bring it back to the day you purchased it, the day it was installed. And then we can breathe for a while, and then we'll come back a year later and we'll take another look at it if that's good enough. Yeah.
And this is a great point. So even like say in older cities, like where we're at, a lot of older industrial buildings that are still going strong. Now, instead of like, hey, a whole, multi-thousand, $100,000, $1 million, revamp. And these aren't Band-Aids. Like you are preventively coming in and fixing, and like, you're actually saving them money by being proactive as opposed to like a whole revamp.
That's a great point, Kurt. I mean, we truly know that the older the facility, the more risk there is of failure of the equipment, and the least, if it hasn't been maintained, the risks are very high.
Right.
And so, yes, we feel that's the best approach we can do for our customers, is to come in and just make sure it's going to be good. And we have many times went to a customer, they said, I believe we're going to just have to replace all of this at some point. And yes, that's tempting to sell them a replacement. Yeah. But when you're in our business, you look at them and you say, well, the truth is, if you let us go ahead and look at them and open them up and do some testing on them, we can verify it. But the majority of the time, you don't have to replace it just because you feel you should, or we get people that think, oh, that's old, we'll probably. But no, we can, we grease, we oil, we tighten, we clean, we do all the things you need to do in the system.
The fun, we take our vehicles in for every, X number of miles for an oil change or a tune-up or what have you. But, I think what you're bringing to the market is that same mindset, or like, boy, I could drive this thing. My wife has a friend, she's driving a car, it's like 200 some thousand miles, and she has no intention of stopping. Right.
Right.
And so the thing is, like if you keep maintaining it, man, let that thing run as long as you want. And that's basically what you're bringing to your customers.
Great analogy, Kurt. You're right. You know, if you keep that car oil changes regularly, that engine lasts for a long, long, long time. But if you don't change that oil regularly,
Yeah.
oh, you know,
Yeah.
that's a great analogy.
Yeah. Then you blame the car. So, all right. Is there any on the 6? Is there any other that we want to hit?
Yeah. Let's get to a couple real quick. One is the electrical preventative maintenance piece. So far, having your people trained, making sure your safety plan is in place properly, making sure they have the proper PPE. Those are very reasonable things to do. They don't take long to do. They're not hugely expensive. And so we want to make sure you try to knock those ones off right away. Let's get those ones checked off. We actually give our customers a sheet of the 6 keys, and they can put the date of when they plan to have it done, what date, so that we can project in case there, God forbid, there was a failure or someone got hurt. OSHA came into their facility. These are the 6 things OSHA knows about.
Got it.
So, I mean, we're going to make sure that you've got a plan in place to have them. But ongoing preventative maintenance is required not only by the NFPA and the 70E program, but it's by the manufacturer. So when you read the manufacturer's guides on this equipment, you will see that they have to be regularly maintained or they void warranties. So on top of, we have, you as a facility owner have to maintain your electrical system at least annually, okay? And that's when we come in and we open your equipment, we take infrared photographs, we put together a beautiful report for you to see exactly where your issues are. We're going to give you a heads up on some of the pictures, just real quick. I don't know, we do infrared, so we're able to identify anomalies and things. We give them a beautiful report, and then we'll help them. Sometimes they have people on staff that can get the repairs done. Sometimes they ask us to give them an idea and fix some of the problems they have. So, but ongoing preventive maintenance, what I like to say about that, and really in healthcare, we're worried about patient safety, right? And that's one of the big things. In school systems, they're worried about the student safety. But in manufacturing, you're worried about failure, downtime, lost time, fire in the facility, all the employees having to stand around to wait to come back. Those add up really quick. And the only way to really benefit yourself, like this is a regulation, but it's an actual benefit to you, right? It's not just, hey, you have to do it and that's the way it is.
Right.
I mean, truly, this is a direct benefit to you. And so electrical preventive maintenance is something we're really able to help companies fit something into their budget, schedule the equipment so it fits all in their budget. That seems to be the #1 thing that we can help them fit it into their budget and still get it done. So electrical preventive maintenance. And then there's another thing that many people aren't aware of today. They have heard of it. I get a lot of guys that say, I've heard of the standards, but there's a thing called an arc flash study. Okay, and different statements you can use or ways to explain what it is. I like to just call it an arc flash study. And I think the actual term is arc flash hazard risk assessment. And this is a very involved documentation program for your electrical equipment, to where we actually determine if there was an arc in your piece of equipment, how long would it last and how big would it be? So we are able to identify in your electrical system to reduce the potential that, God forbid, someone was working in a piece of equipment and it shorted out. How big of a blast would it be? And today we've seen these videos of electricians getting the big fireballs. That's what this arc flash study is about. So we have to open every piece of equipment and take down all of the information, the fuse sizes, the breaker sizes, the wire sizes, the length of the wire. There's a whole engineering study that needs to be done. And so this is a very particular project that we work with customers on to complete this for them. And you really know if you have it in your facility. If you look at one of these gray boxes in your facility and you see a label on there and it says arc flash on it, then your facility has already had that completed. It's a one-time deal. Every 5 years, you have to reevaluate and make any changes to it. So if you have the labels, great. We're glad that you have. But if you don't have the labels, you definitely need to give us a call. A little plug. One of our benefits is we're electricians. We are not someone who has just bought a camera or is just wandering around. Okay. We see it and we get calls to open covers for people who have a camera. But tell me, would you rather have someone who looks at electrical all day long and knows every little point of failure and what the code says about the grounding and the size of wires to do your preventative maintenance? So we are electricians. We perform our preventative maintenance. And what we can do is combine the preventative maintenance work with the arc flash study and save you about 40% of the overall cost of doing it as separate products. So our software, our electricians are all trained to make sure these 6 keys, we can be as proficient and help our customers at the lowest cost possible to make sure they're in compliance.
This is fantastic. I'm going to pull up a couple comments here from our dear friend Diane. Diane's down in the Philly area. Appreciate the conversation today. So very important. I remember as a child, my father's place of employment burnt down. So right here, Diane's her family was victimized by a fire, and that night the whole place of employment lost their jobs. Families had to relocate. Total game changer. And then she shares this very timely. Just last week, a neighbor lost her home at 3 a.m. Devastation. Fortunately, I got out safe. Second, my mother caught electrical fire with her dryer last week. Breaker never shut down. So, I mean, it's just, you just never know when these events are going to take place. And it's just, by taking that step forward and just that preventative and just being proactive and just predictive is just such powerful results here. Kevin, I've got, so number 1, internal champion. They need the internal champion. Number 2, safety plan. Number 3, PPE. We covered electrical preventative maintenance. We talked about the arc flash study. Do we have, did I miss one, or do we have one more?
No, I missed one. So what happens is with the arc, most companies are unaware that they must have an electrical one-line diagram. I'm sure that means a lot to everyone. But what that will do is actually give you a document of the flow of the electric through your facility. And what the real reason why you need that is if there is an emergency and someone needs to identify how do you shut down power at this one area, right? And so without this, you could just be running around shutting things off while someone's getting hurt. And this is all about. So you have to have accurate, up-to-date one-line diagrams of your electrical system. And some of the older buildings, you can know that the maintenance guy says, "Oh, I got them. They're in a rolls back there, all and ripped and taped up, and we're not even sure if they're accurate." Well, and so one-line diagrams. But the real important thing that people don't know is they have to be posted out so that you don't have to run in and find them in a drawer. So in every electric room, you should post your one-line diagrams in case there's an emergency, and that's part of your compliancy. Well, we can help you with the one-line diagrams. And when you get an arc flash study, it automatically comes with a one-line diagram. So we're able to combine these 6 different keys together to make sure our customers are compliant, but not make them purchase them as all separate deals. We can combine them and save them a lot of money and a lot of time, and basically one person to go for their safety.
Yeah. And I'm just thinking about like the maintenance teams at these facilities. I've worked with these guys in the past, and they are so busy wearing so many hats, trying to do so many things. And we all know that there's a problem with labor right now, getting people to, take some of these jobs. And a lot of times they're short staffed. And so I just love how you're just supporting that need that they have by providing this extra support that frankly, they just honestly don't have the time to focus on it because they're trying to do so many other things, so.
It is so true. And it's a shame when we see the accident do happen and someone because of that, we'll get to that, right? We'll get to that.
And I think to segue with that, Nicole, another great point, with the baby boomers, retiring, that, like Maintenance Murray or Maintenance Mary kind of had all that information, like all you had to do is go to Mary, and Mary knew everything. Well, guess what? Mary has had a well-deserved retirement on the horizon. And when Mary leaves, he brings a lot of that information with her. And so, I think like what you're doing. And the thing is, like, Nicole, I just had something over the weekend, something I haven't done in like 6 months or a year. And I'm like, wait, how did I do that again? So like, if this isn't front of mind, and like you said, Maintenance Mary and Maintenance Murray or whoever's in charge of that, they've got 1,000 different things that they're, I guess another pun intended, fires that they're putting out all day, every day. So then unfortunately, when the real one comes about, and again, when you're in that little crisis mode, it's hard to like, it's hard to be like clear head, like, okay, now what do I do? Did we have a fire drill to like, and that's what you're doing, Kevin, is you're coming in. Now we can be in a place of calm, and now we can tackle this situation. Number one, you're preventing these things from happening. Number two, if it happens, we now have a plan of how to attack this.
That's exactly right, Kurt. And, our customers have been very happy with us about it. They at first they might think, for real, do we really have to do this? And then we show them the supporting documentation. We show them the fines that people have gotten in the past. And we've shown them of the people that have been injured in these places. Yeah. And to the point where, yes, you do have to do it. So we make sure we try to work with them, because it's part of our government requirements, and we have to do them. So
well, Kevin, dude, I know I've kept you over our time. This is such a great conversation. I know I could keep you all day. You are a busy man, saving companies, saving buildings, saving lives, and I'll tell you, what an inspirational story. How about, first off, another big shout out to Joe, 94 years old, going into work every day. Boy, if I could be a fraction of the inspiration that Joe is, I'd consider myself a big success. And Kevin, for you taking that leap of faith on a really trying period, and for your wife to, just kind of had the wherewithal to step back and say, hey, you know what? I think this is, talk about turning, Nicole, I call it, how do you turn your messings into your blessings? Right. Oh. And I think a 3 a.m. fire certainly was a little bit of a messing that became a great blessing to the Dickey family. So Kevin, how about anybody out there? Let's give Kevin a big round of applause for just a phenomenal conversation today. Kevin, as we wind down, where can folks find you? I know your website's CurrentSAFE.com. Where can people find you?
CurrentSAFE.com is a great place to go. On there, you'll see that we have a residential side. When you come on, you can either learn more about residential, or you can learn more about commercial and industrial. Mm-hmm. And then once you go to those sites, you'll be able to go to the dealer locator and see states we're located in it. Yep. And you can contact them directly there. You can always contact our corporate offices, and maybe we can help you to make sure you have clean, dependable power, no one gets shocked, and you don't have a risk of fire in your facility.
Boy, I'll tell you, what an admirable cause that you've taken on. And one thing that Nicole and I love talking about with entrepreneurship is the word saga. And we had a gentleman on our program back in November, and this gentleman, he studied thousands and thousands of businesses, and they found a common denominator with the businesses that are successful are the companies that really took on a cause or a saga, if you will. And Nicole's grandfather, Nicole, what was the name of your grandfather's business?
It was the Saga Inn. Yep. He owned a motel right across from Disneyland. And so when I heard this interview of this gentleman on Kurt's show, it was like this magic moment for me. I was like, oh my goodness. I remember my grandfather's motel. He had like this knight in shining armor mascot. It was pretty cool, the Saga Inn. So I think, yeah, you definitely are carrying a wonderful saga and legacy from your father. And I think one of the things I loved you sharing is that every day he'd wake up and he would focus on the positive.
Yes.
I just think that's a wonderful, wonderful way to live. I love that. You can see it come across in your smile on your face that you've just kind of adopted that. So
it's inspirational.
Yeah.
Very inspirational. But you guys are, and what you've done to help us and some of the things we've done together. Kurt, Nicole, what you're doing for the manufacturer industry is very honorable and wonderful. And I'm so glad to have time to speak with you two today, and hopefully help the manufacturers like you're doing stay out of trouble, keep up with the current trends, and appreciate you.
Well, thank you. Right back at you, my friend. So guys, thank you for joining us today. And hopefully if you miss anything, go back and hit replay, or hopefully you're catching this on a replay down the road. You want to learn more about how to protect your business, your assets. contact Kevin, his team at CurrentSAFE. So guys, we're going to chime off. We have a great program coming up this Friday. Nicole, you're going to be back on stage. We have a little e-commerce success story and a manufacturer. As a matter of fact, I'm going to talk to them about CurrentSAFE. But Kevin, hang out with us for 1 second. We're going to chime off. God bless everybody. Thank you. Have an amazing, incredible, dynamic week. And boy, just like Joe Dickey, be positive, and just like our friend Kevin, just go out and be someone's inspiration, man. This was just so inspiring. So thank you guys. Have a great day, great rest of your week, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kurt.